Did you know that one of the most valuable and expensive watches in the world was founded by an orphan? Yes, you heard me right. But how did this poor boy build such a luxurious brand? Well, today we're gonna find out as we explore the story of the orphan who built Rolex. But before we continue with the video, welcome to our channel where we bring you the most amazing stories from the forgotten history books. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already so that you won't miss out on any of our incredible stories. And don't forget to hit the like button because it really helps us grow. 1. From humble beginnings. Hans was born on July 29, 1881 in Zurich, Switzerland, to Jewish immigrant parents from Germany. However, sadly, his father died when he was only 4 years old and left the family penniless. His mother then remarried, but unfortunately she also passed away when Hans was just 10 years old. At this point, Hans found himself completely alone in the world without any family or money. But despite these very difficult circumstances, Hans always remained hopeful and positive. He was an ambitious boy with a strong work ethic and was determined to make something of himself. When Hans was just 13 years old, he began working at a local jewelry store in order to support himself. Even though his life was incredibly tough, Hans never gave up on his dreams. He always had a passion for fine craftsmanship and was particularly fascinated by timepieces. Despite not being wealthy or connected, Hans knew that he wanted to work with watches when he grew up. His colleagues noticed his interest in horology, the study of timekeeping, and began teaching him the basics of watchmaking. This gave Hans the skills and knowledge he needed to start his own business. During this time, pocket watches were considered the most accurate and reliable timekeepers. Wristwatches, on the other hand, were seen as an inferior alternative for women and children. But Hans saw potential in wristwatches and believed they could become the superior choice. Although he was just a humble apprentice, Hans had a vision that went beyond the limitations imposed by society. While his peers scoffed at his ideas, Hans remained steadfast in his belief that wristwatches would soon dominate the market. 2. A vision beyond the times. In the early 1900s, wristwatches were generally considered to be inaccurate and inferior to pocket watches. They were viewed as an accessory rather than a precise timekeeping device. The prevailing opinion among watchmakers was that mechanical precision could not be achieved in a wristwatch due to the smaller size and lower tolerances. However, Hans recognized the potential of wristwatches and sought to change people's perception of them. He believed that with advancements in technology, it was possible to create a wristwatch that was not only stylish, but also highly accurate. Although Hans didn't have much money or connections, he was determined to pursue his dream. He began by importing Swiss watch movements from various manufacturers and assembling them in high-quality cases made in England. These watches were a significant improvement over the ones available on the market and quickly gained a reputation for accuracy and reliability. However, Hans's ambition did not stop there. He wanted to create a watch that was not only accurate but also aesthetically pleasing. He envisioned a watch that would be timeless and elegant, something that could be passed down from generation to generation. 3. The birth of Rolex. In 1905, Hans came up with the idea of creating a watch that would bear his name. He needed a short, elegant and universal brand name that would be easy to remember and pronounce in different languages. After thinking for a while, he decided on the name Rolex. He liked the sound of the name and felt that it represented the quality and precision of the watches he wanted to make. Once he settled on the name, Hans began producing watches under the Rolex brand. His watches were in high demand and quickly became known for their accuracy and reliability. Hans decided to establish his company in Switzerland because it was renowned for its traditional watchmaking expertise. He established his business in 1908 in La Chaux-de-Fonds, a town famous for its watchmaking industry. He opened a modest workshop with just 2 employees, his brother Paul and an enameler named Alfred. Together they crafted around 15 watches per week which they sold to local jewelers. Hans, however, had larger ambitions for the company. He wanted to produce watches that would be sold all over the world. In 1910, Rolex became the first wristwatch to receive the Swiss chronometer certification, a prestigious award given to watches that meet the highest standards of accuracy and reliability. This certification helped to establish Rolex's reputation for excellence and paved the way for the company's future success. 4. The game-changing innovations. In 1926, Rolex introduced the Oyster case, which was the world's first waterproof and dust-proof wristwatch. This groundbreaking innovation made it possible for people to wear their watches while swimming or participating in other water-based activities without worrying about damage to the watch. It also helped to improve the durability and longevity of the watches. However, the Perpetual movement was a more complex invention that took several years of research and development to perfect. It eliminated the need for manual winding and allowed the watch to self-wind as the wearer moved their wrist. This innovation made it more convenient for people to wear their watches as they no longer needed to manually wind them every day. These two innovations helped to establish Rolex as a leader in the watchmaking industry and contributed to the brand's reputation for excellence. Real-life tests were conducted to ensure the watch's endurance. Mercedes Glides, a British swimmer, wore a Rolex Oyster during a swim from the Isle of Man to Liverpool in 1927, where it successfully withstood the harsh conditions of the open sea. Similarly, a Rolex was used to measure altitude and temperature at the summit of Mount Everest in 1953, demonstrating its accuracy and reliability in extreme environments. 5. Rolex becomes a status symbol. By the mid-20th century, Rolex had become a status symbol worn by affluent individuals and celebrities. Its association with adventure, exploration, and precision had made it a highly sought-after brand among the jet-setting crowd. People like Winston Churchill, Martin Luther King Jr., and Hollywood icons such as Paul Newman and John Wayne were often seen wearing a Rolex. Rolex's status as a luxury timepiece was further enhanced by its use in popular culture and the media. The James Bond franchise, for example, featured Rolex watches prominently in several films, cementing the brand's image as a sophisticated and refined accessory for men of distinction. Over the years, Rolex has continued to innovate and introduce new models to the market, each one more spectacular and sought after than the last. One of the brand's most iconic models is the Daytona, a chronograph watch that is prized by collectors for its rarity and precision. Another popular model is the Submariner, a diving watch that is known for its durability and functionality. Rolex's association with various explorer and adventurer groups also contributed to its popularity. Sir Edmund Hillary, for example, wore a Rolex Oyster Perpetual on his wrist when he became the first person to reach the summit of Mount Everest in 1953. This helped to establish Rolex as a brand that could withstand the harshest environments and conditions. Furthermore, Rolex's involvement in yacht racing and sailing competitions helped to promote the brand among affluent sports enthusiasts. In the late 20th century, Rolex became the title sponsor of the Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race, one of the world's most famous sailing events. This association helped to reinforce Rolex's image as a watch that was synonymous with adventure, exploration, and the pursuit of excellence. Today, Rolex watches are still regarded as some of the finest timepieces in the world and are worn by millionaires, billionaires, and world leaders. The brand's commitment to quality, precision, and innovation has ensured its place as a leader in the luxury watch market. 6. The legacy lives on. Even after all these years, the exact recipe for the perfect watch remains a closely guarded secret passed down only to a select few apprentices. The company is still privately owned by the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation and has remained true to its core values since its inception. Despite its status as a luxury brand, Rolex has not forgotten its roots and continues to support charitable causes around the world. The company has a long history of supporting humanitarian efforts and has donated millions of dollars to organizations such as the Red Cross and the United Nations. Rolex's commitment to philanthropy reflects the values of its founder, Hans Wilsdorf, who was a passionate believer in giving back to society. Rolex's core values of precision, innovation, and timeless elegance continue to resonate with watch enthusiasts and collectors alike. The brand's dedication to quality and craftsmanship has ensured its place as a leader in the luxury watch market. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a first-time buyer, a Rolex watch is a timeless investment that will never go out of style. 7. The moral of the story. From humble beginnings, Hans Wilsdorf, a poor orphan with a dream, built one of the world's most luxurious and valuable watch brands, Rolex. His story teaches us that no matter how difficult our beginnings may be, if we have a dream and work tirelessly toward achieving it, anything is possible. Through his persistence, innovation, and attention to detail, he turned a simple wristwatch into a status symbol worn by the rich and famous. So if you're facing tough times now, remember the story of Hans Wilsdorf and keep working toward your dreams. Who knows, you might be the next millionaire. What did you think of the Rolex owner's story? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already so that you can be notified every time we upload a new video.